The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, March 21st show. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I'm dedicated to my listeners, providing you with the tools needed to make informed decisions on matters that affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guest I have in studio today. Please call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. My lineup for studio today, Debra Trappen, owner of D11 Consulting. Are you a business professional attending a network event? Are you a consumer looking for employment at a network event? How do you get the most out of the event? How do you work the room? What you should and should not do. Debra is here to break it down for us, so very excited to have her in studio once again. And Tyler McKenzie, managing broker of Donald Scott Real Estate and 2015 president for Seattle King County Realtors. Seattle King County Realtors creating a thriving and ethical business environment for members throughout education, advocacy, and tools that support member success. They protect and promote the right to own, transfer, and use real estate. Here to discuss Seattle's booming market and what it means for buyers and sellers. And my last guest in studio, Kyle Schultz, FICO certified credit expert with 360 Credit Consulting. Your FICO score determines the terms and interest rates you pay on credit cards, car loans, mortgage loans, and even the cost for car insurance. A lot of employers actually now looking at your FICO score to make a decision on whether you're going to be hired or not hired. So do you want to know how to improve it? Good or challenged credit, you will benefit from this segment. Great information and great guests in studio. For more information on any topics discussed or any topics that you'd like to hear discussed, please call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And let's start out, as always, with a little money chat.
Money.
I want to talk a little bit about interest rates today, talk about the Fed meeting. Many Americans don't pay much attention to what the Federal Reserve Chair, Janet Yellen, and the Fed do, but that could change very soon. In June, the Fed could be doing something it hasn't done since Obama was U.S. Senator, raising interest rates. Don't hit the snooze button. The interest rate hike will impact everyone and has a huge impact on home mortgage, car loans, savings accounts, and money in the stock market. In short term, life is about to get better for savers and may get a little bit harder for borrowers. Investors could also face tougher times. What the Fed said on Wednesday, the losers will be borrowers and the winners will be savers, says Ted Peters, CEO and Bluestone Financial Institute's fund and former member of the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. And for mortgage rates, possibly on the rise. As the Fed signals this intention to rise interest rates, borrowers are rushing to get deals done now. There's been a huge rush in mortgage applications in 2015, driven by people refinancing to lock in lower interest rates. And consumers thinking of buying a house should act quickly to lock in today's rates. And that was said by Dean Crawshore, the economic professor at University of Richmond and former Philadelphia Fed economist. And the challenge for the purchase buyers out there right now really is just the lack of inventory in the market. And that's frustrating because the rates are so low and being able to take advantage of them would be awesome. I just say, don't give up the fight. Keep fighting out there, making your offer. Even if there's multiple offers, don't give up. Take advantage of these interest rates while they're here. The current 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 3.8% according to Freddie Mac. That's down from a year ago when rates were closer to 4.3%. Now, 4.3% not being a bad rate at all, looking at the historical trends before we saw the interest rates dramatically drop down. But we could see interest rates go up, who knows, 5-6%. So again, taking advantage of where they're at now would be a really good opportunity. When the Fed likely raises the interest rates, it will push mortgage rates and auto loans up. That said, it's uncertain if it will cause home or car buying to slow down. So we'll just have to see how that is affected. Savers succeed. Ever since the financial crisis, people who put their money in the bank have gained next to nothing. With interest rates so low, people who played it safe have been getting the short end of the stick. That will be changed for better for people with savings account. Once the Fed raises interest rates, savers will gain more interest on the money that they deposit at the bank. The average interest rates on a savings account is a mere 0.44% right now, according to Bankrate. And savers can smile all the way to the bank, knowing that the job market is looking good as well. So let's talk a little bit about jobs. A big reason the Fed is planning to raise interest rates is because the U.S. economy is improving, especially in the job market. Unemployment is down to the lowest level since 2008, and in the U.S. has added millions of jobs in the past year. The labor market is improving, Yellen said on Wednesday. Rate hike would be Yellen's 2 thumbs up that the economy is healthier. Now, the only concern is that the rate hike could hurt future wage growth. Many Americans haven't sensed the success of the economy recovering because wage growth remains flat. The Fed wants to see it at about 3.5% wage growth, but it was only 2% in February. However, Yellen made clear that wage growth isn't the requirement to raise interest rates. Wages are usually the last measure of the economy's health to move in the right direction. So let's talk a little bit about the stock market. Rocky ride for stocks. The stock market rallied big on Wednesday after the Fed released its official statement. Don't take that one day as a preview for the rest of the year. Investors were largely reacting to language in the Fed statement suggesting that the central bank won't raise interest rates in April and will likely raise rates only a bit June or later. Now, the biggest threat to the stock now is the Fed rate hike. Any rate hike will almost certainly have a major effect. Stocks are already considered expensive, and many on Wall Street fear the markets are overdue for a correction. When they drop more than 10% is what's considered a correction, which hasn't happened since 2011. A Fed rate hike could make stocks less attractive to investors, and it would also raise interest rates on U.S. bonds, which are considered safer investments. So spring is coming. What the Fed rate could set the sun, at least for a while. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We've all been saying, all experts, that interest rates have nowhere to go but up. We just haven't seen them go up yet. So that time is coming. Coming up next on the Money Hour, making the most out of networking events, how to work the room and maximize your effectiveness with the small amount of face-to-face time that you have with other business people. Get what you want out of the event. Debra Trappen, Chief of Sass and Moxie Experience of D11 Consulting, right here at 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
Are you a woman in business or a brand that wants to help them figure out how to take their business to the next level? Do you have questions about how to effectively and safely use social media to build your brand and business? Are you ready to live your purpose out loud every single day, but not sure how to make it happen? Are you looking to start a thriving business, uncover new ideal clients, or find your dream job? Have you been trying to put your brand story together, but keep getting stuck? Debra Trappen of D11 Consulting Consulting is a well-respected expert who speaks, writes, and consults on the topics of personal brand, digital marketing strategies, and living a fired-up life. Debra Trappen of D11 Consulting helps entrepreneurs build businesses and lives they love by attracting ideal clients with a solid brand message and simple digital marketing strategies. Debra Trappen of D11 Consulting is passionate about inspiring entrepreneurs to define their personal brand to build a business and life they love. Debra Trappen of D11 Consulting is excited to help you get fired up and on your way to building a successful business and life.
This is Debra Trappen of D11 Consulting. To learn more about my firm, connect with me on social media, or sign up for a free consultation, please visit my website, d11consulting.com. Be sure to sign up to Fire Up on my email list, and you will receive a free core values exercise to get you started defining your personal brand and building a life you love. If you prefer email, send me a note at debra@d11consulting.com. Again, to learn more about my services, connect with me on social, or sign up to Fire Up, visit d11consulting.com. I look forward to connecting with you soon.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, March 21st show. I've built a network of elite industry professionals each week sharing their knowledge and expertise to my listeners. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. You can listen to any of the podcasts, listen to any of the shows that you've missed. And if you don't catch the entire show today, definitely go back to the website to listen to the podcast because I've got a great lineup. And first in studio today is Debra Trappen, owner of D11 Consulting. Are you attending a network event? Do you feel that it's awkward? Do you want to have it go awkward to awesome? Debra is going to share with you the essential tips for surviving and thriving in the event. And I can't think of anyone else better to do this, Debra. I'm so excited every time you come into studio. Thank you so much for coming back.
Such a pleasure. Always love being here with you, Tina.
And a little bit about Debra's bio. Debra Trappen is Chief of Sass, Moxie and Experience of D11 Consulting. She founded the firm to help grow minded women in business and companies who want to serve them. Shine online by firing up their personal brand, their personal business brands, along with their attitudes. If you want to start a business, attract more ideal clients, build influence, or amplify your voice, but have no idea where to start, Debra is the one that can help you. Get ready to clarify your values, purpose, and niche. Define what social media platforms are best for you and achieve your goals. All with lots of tech tips, oodles of Moxie, and tons of fun along with Journey. Debra's all about oodles of fun. Debra's daily mission is to ignite passion, influence purpose, and inspire progress by connecting, engaging, elevating, empower relationships and ideas. Her superpower, creating clarity in chaos. She helps you navigate and focus on the truth, then fires you up and into action. I don't know, Debra, with that bio, I don't know how anybody could not want to talk with you. And I have to say personally, Debra, you have been such an inspiration and such a huge part of my business, not just my mortgage business, but my software business, and being able to build a friendship with you is just, it means so much to me. And I encourage anyone out there, especially the women out there that are listening, any realtors that listen to the show, because we do have a lot of industry leader realtors in studio, which I have one of them here today. Give Debra a call. Go to my website, themoneyhour.com, and search Debra's name. Listen to the previous shows. Today's the show's a little bit to a different twist than I normally talk with Debra, because this is really all about networking events and how to maximize your opportunity in the networking events. But I just highly encourage that you reach out to her, because my personal endorsement goes way, way far. And thank you again, Debra, for spending time here with me.
Wowza. Thank you.
And you gotta look at her picture online too. She's a beautiful woman. So Debra, let's go ahead and start out with why so many people are timid about networking.
Well, actually the word networking usually gives people hives. They hear networking and they think, oh gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? It's going to be uncomfortable. And most of the time it's just because they're not prepared. And we've talked a couple of times on other episodes about the niche statement and really understanding how to have good conversation with people. And that really does spill over into networking events, because in today's world, we're so connected with technology that when we have an opportunity to be in real life with someone, a lot of the times we forget actually how to have a conversation.
Yes.
Because we're so used to using our thumbs to communicate.
Yeah.
And so there's a bigger fear factor than ever to actually be in front of someone that we may or may not know very well.
And especially when it's in a business environment, because you do have a very specific reason of why you're there. It is to network. That's why they call it a networking group, and to connect with people. And when you're going there's people that you don't know, and you're there specifically for a reason or agenda, it's different than just going into a personal event and not feeling that there's something that you want to take away from it. So how would you advise Realtors or any other professional to actually prepare to attend a networking event?
Sure. Well, the first thing is to define your objective, right?
Okay.
Most of the time, you want to find out who's going to be there, right? So take a look and say, who are the 3 people, and keep it at 3. Don't try and say, here are the 20 people I want to meet, or the 12. 3 people, who are they? And really create that list. Look at the RSVPs.
Okay.
Most events now, especially networking events, have either a Google event, a Facebook event. They're on, some sort of Eventbrite or Evite. And so you have an idea of who's going to be there. So on the flip side, it's also very important for you to actually RSVP so that other people who are attending know you'll be there.
Okay.
So that they can do a little bit of, research on you too. And
they may want to be networking and connect with you as well.
Correct. And you might be the reason they decide to say yes to the event. So make sure that you're RSVPing, and then check that list. And then again, create that focus list of 3 people that you want to build a deeper relationship with for sure.
And what a great advice, Deborah. And I've never really thought about that. It makes total sense, because when you're connecting with people and you want to learn about what's important to them, and that's how we can do business together, really narrowing it down to a few people instead of just wanting to go in there and meet everybody. Great tip. What about social media? The social media queen that you are, how do you utilize that in preparing for a networking event?
Well, a lot of networking events now use other aspects of technology, not just, putting a Facebook event up. They create a hashtag. So that's the pound symbol or the tic-tac-toe symbol, and then a word that describes either the name of the organization or whatever they're calling the event. So I always look for that on the website or on the event page, find out, do they have a hashtag? And then I do a little bit of research.
Okay.
Again, because there might be people who didn't RSVP, but they might be sharing about the event. They might just not actually take that extra step to register. And so I want to be on their radar. I also want to see tricks and tips that maybe the event planners are sharing about that event. Better places to park. Will there be a coat check? Is there, do you get a discount if you like their Facebook page before you show up at the event? There's all sorts of little tidbits that they leave. It also allows you to introduce yourself to somebody who might be there that you haven't met yet, but is on your target list. And that helps those who are a little uncomfortable about meeting new people. It creates a little bit of a comfort zone for you, because you've already had that first introduction. Hi, this is who I am. I look forward to seeing you at the event. I'd love to, grab a coffee with you. And so you've already kind of had that first introduction. So that allows for, it's almost like you're walking into a warm friendship right off the bat. There's also some cool technology that you can put on your phone. My favorite app for this is called Refresh.
Okay.
You just go to refresh.io, and it allows you, it's an Apple, of course, an Apple first app. All of you droids out there, just go to that same site. They have a sign up list for when it goes to the Android platform. But the beauty of this is you can easily create a dossier on these people you want to meet. So if I want to meet Tina Mitchell at a party, I'm going to say, I'm going to this event with Tina Mitchell. And then what it does is 30 minutes before I get there, it sends me an email with a dossier. It says, did you have a recent anniversary? Did your football team win this weekend?
Wow.
It just gives some little tidbits of information. And, this is where the power of social media is, and most people avoid it. People are telling you what they're eating, what they're drinking, what they've done, if their kids won, if their kids lost. And these are great conversations. If they're putting it on social media, they want someone to read it.
Yes. And I should do that in preparing for you guys in studio, because I actually was in Tyler Freed's show on his radio show, and he had, as soon as I came into studio, he had said, "Oh, Tina, you just got back from Hawaii." And I was like, how in the heck did he know that? Now, I know him, and I felt comfortable with the fact that he had said that. And so, just preparing, and I should know exactly each what of you guys are interested in preparing for studio. That would be kind of fun.
Certainly. And
I always learn stuff from you, Debra.
Well, and to kind of avoid that stalker fact, you could always engage on a couple of their posts on Facebook, because that brings you to top of mind for them as well. So when you do say, "Hey, I saw, you went to Hawaii. How was that?" You're likely going to trigger the fact that I may have made a comment about the gorgeous sunset, or, "Wow, what a bummer. It's raining and you're at the pool."
Yes.
Wah, wah. I've engaged with you, and so it's not going to feel so strange when I see you in person.
Makes total sense. So what about having someone else attend with you? A lot of times people are, we've already talked about, there can be an awkward and just, you're just not really feeling at your game going into this big event. What about bringing someone, whether it's a spouse or it's a coworker or somebody from your team?
Yes, I am a huge fan of doing things in pairs. It's kind of like shoes. Things are better in pairs.
Okay, yeah.
But you have to be very careful about who your guest is. Who your plus one is very important, because whether you like it or not, they do represent you in some way, shape, or form. And so choose them wisely. Make sure that they know who your 3 people are. So the 3 people that you want to meet, give them a little bit of information, arm them with, this is what this person looks like. This is what I'm hoping to talk to them about.
Okay.
Because here's the beauty of having a wingman or a wing woman, is that they can help tell your story. So if you really want to do business with someone and you don't want to be like, "Oh, I'm the best at doing this," you can actually have them say, "Oh, I've worked with Debra. So if Tina and I were at an event, you might tell them the things I've done for you, as opposed to me having to say, "Here are the things I can do for you" as a consultant. And so it allows somebody else to tell your story, but it also allows you to help them build their business. So you can actually be helping each other build your business at this event together. And so you can do it for them and they can do it for you.
So would you suggest that a power partner, meaning a realtor and their lender, or a team, meaning you and your, for me, using me for an example, myself and my loan coordinator, which is directly part of my team, or better to bring my partner realtor or my partner on my social media, what would be the better solution?
Well, that goes back to what your objective is.
Okay.
So if you're going along with your realtor friend because she maybe wants to find a couple new clients, then that would be a great combination for the two of you.
Makes sense.
Right. If you're going to find more realtors, it's probably not a great idea to bring your realtor. So you get my point.
Yes, of course. Makes total sense. So what about some tips, Debra? We talked about tips you shared before getting to the event. What about during the event?
Well, the key is to be memorable. Okay. So, of course, sharing something that you might have seen on their Facebook page or their Twitter stream is great. But also make sure that you don't just have a plain old boring business card. There's so many great affordable options for business cards. Moo.com is one of my favorite. You can have different photos of the different neighborhoods that you focus on. Just make it a little different. I use the mini moos, and every time I hand them out, people are like, "Oh, what is this?" It's really interesting because it's a different shape, it's a different size. Also, we ask a question every time we meet somebody for the first time, and that is, "What do you do?" Right? And so come up with something a little bit more original than "I just sell real estate."
Okay. All right.
And we did a show on formulating your niche statement. So go listen to that. It's a great way to answer, "What do you do for a living?" that is more inspiring than "I just sell houses." And then the last tip that I would have on that would really be, instead of asking others what do they do for a living, ask them what they're passionate about. Ask them what they do for fun. People love to talk about the fact that they've got a passion project, they're working on a charity auction that's coming up. That's more memorable than what do you do for a living.
Makes sense. Alcohol. A lot of times these events have alcohol, Debra. What's your suggestion there?
Yes. And, the real estate industry loves our alcohol. So moderation.
Of
moderation.
Course.
A glass of wine is fine, but then switch to club soda with a twist of lemon. It's still festive, but it's going to keep your wits about you. You want to remember what you talked about, and you do not want to be remembered for dancing on the table.
Yes, makes total sense. So we talked about before planning, during planning. What about when you're after the event? Because I think a lot of people miss that opportunity. What are your tips there?
Yes. Well, first of all, follow up tomorrow. Don't follow up tonight.
Okay, makes sense.
So make sure that, because you don't want them to, feel the pressure. Plus, you want to be on the top of their inbox.
Yes.
Also, it's a good point to share with you is don't post your photos online that night either.
Really?
Wait until the next day.
Okay.
You want to be able to look at them on a larger screen, make sure that there are no bulges or, drunken scenes behind. You want everyone to look good. Because the idea of sharing and following up the next day is if you're posting a photo on Facebook, you want them to share it. You want them to communicate on it. If they look horrid, they're not going to engage on it. They're going to untag themselves. And, I have a fun little rhyme, no posting online after 9 or 2 glasses of wine.
I love that.
And so it really is a great reminder because, again, you want to be able to engage with them. But make sure you're also connecting them with them outside of Facebook. Okay. Get connected to them on LinkedIn. Very, very important. Check out their website. Follow their RSS feed if they have a blog. Really show them, hey, I enjoyed talking with you. And by the way, I want to get connected to you. And then, of course, remind yourself within a week to get a scheduled appointment on the books with them.
Makes total sense, Deborah. Thank you so much for walking us through the entire process of networking and a networking event. Can't wait to have you back in. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Coming up next on the Money Hour, real estate is a hot topic, and there's a lot of advice on how to navigate through the environment. But the wrong advice can be a big financial mistake that you do not want to make. Tyler McKenzie, managing broker with John L. Scott Real Estate and 2015 president of Seattle King County Realtors. He definitely is an expert in this arena. Very excited to share his expertise with my listeners right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Debra with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, March 21st show. I'm empowering our community, providing you with opportunities and solutions when it comes to your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with any of the guests I have in studio, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Tyler McKenzie, managing broker with John L. Scott Real Estate and 2015 president for Seattle King County Realtors. And we're going to talk with Tyler today about the local scoop in real estate. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me back on the show.
Tina, it is a pleasure to be back.
And it is just a real pleasure to have you here. I don't know if my listeners know, being the president of SKCAR, Seattle King County Realtors, how important that is, not only to the real estate community, but to consumers and homeownership and just really protecting the rights and everything that's happening. So I thank you so much, because this is a position that takes a lot of time, and to commit to doing this, you have to really be passionate and engaged in what you're doing, and then to actually get voted in as the president is quite an honor. So, Tyler, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to serve my peers and the public as well.
Yes. And a little bit about Tyler. Again, he's with John L. Scott Real Estate, 14 years in the business, managing broker with John L. Scott Real Estate, Seattle, South Lake Union, and top producer. 2015, as I said, Seattle King County Realtors president. Also served on the board of Washington Realtors and on committee at NAR as well. SKCAR Realtor Achievement Award in 2013, Realtor of the Year nominee for WAMP 2012 and 2014. So excited to talk about a little bit about SKCAR and what you're doing over there, as well as what's happening here in our local market and how it's affecting our buyers and sellers. So let's start out with the state of the greater Seattle market. What's happening, Tyler?
You know what? That's a great question. And I actually, as I was sitting here listening to the show, received an email with a market update. So I'm going to run an overview of that for you and our listeners. First off, let me say how much I appreciate hearing both you and Debra say realtor, not realtor. We are a 2-syllable profession, not 3. To answer your question, in my 14 years, I've never seen the market this tight.
Yeah.
And I think many would say, and I've spoken with some realtors who've been in the business for a quarter of a century, that they've never seen inventory levels this low either. By point of reference, let me just run a quick stat by you. This is for Seattle currently. This is all inventory in Seattle.
Okay.
We are at about a 1.2 month supply.
Wow. And
1.2 month supply means a surge market. I would say on average in Seattle, a normal balanced market would be about 3 to 4 months. We tend to be a little shorter in our inventory levels than across the rest of the country. 1.2 across all price points, and this includes multi-million-dollar homes, which would typically dilute the data, is a phenomenally small number of available listings. So very, very tight, very hard on buyers, unfortunately, because it lends itself to multiple offers. Great for sellers.
Yeah.
The challenge being that anybody who wants to sell might need to find a place to live, and then they're faced with the same problem.
And that is the challenge in getting. It's just like a compound thing, because the sellers don't want to put their house on the market, even though they can get top plus dollar, because they don't have another house to buy. And I just heard from a realtor partner on it was a $1.8 million home that had 10 offers on it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, because isn't usually that market not so, so competitive?
Usually not so, and I would venture that probably 1 or 2 of those offers were all cash offers.
Yeah, of course.
In fact, on the east side, in the higher end market, about 40% of all purchases are made by foreign investors and are cash.
Yeah, unbelievable. So did I hear you say that this is the lowest level?
This is the lowest level in my career, and potentially the lowest level in a couple of generations.
Wow. So Tyler, what about the economic indicators for our market? Can you go through those?
I can. Some of this is conjecture. Some of it is boots on the ground observation. Some of it is based on hard fact. But I can tell you, for instance, that if we just look at South Lake Union, where my office is located, we have Amazon adding about 16,000 new jobs in the next 2 years. We have Facebook adding another 2,000 jobs in the next year or so, I believe.
Wow.
So that's 18,000 new families coming to South Lake Union alone. We are on course for an increase in our population of, I think it is 60,000 in the next 10 years. I'm not sure about that stat, but I know that we are projected to add about another 150,000 people to the greater Seattle area by 2030.
Okay.
So we don't have enough housing to accommodate not only those who live here now, but those who are coming to town. We would effectively have to add about 6,000 to 8,000 units of housing, both resale and for rent, per year, to accommodate the increase in population.
So Tyler, if we've got a listener, somebody listening that's wondering about buyers, I mean, what does this mean for a buyer?
It's really, really hard on buyers. I mean, you mentioned earlier that interest rates are incredibly compelling, which is the good news for buyers, because if you can get into the market at 3.75%, you're already taking advantage of an historically low interest rate. The challenge is that the market's getting away from many buyers because things are appreciating so quickly. So if you're sitting on the fence, or you're thinking maybe I'll get to this next year, in my humble opinion, if you wish to live in Seattle, you are making a grave mistake. This market will get away. I have clients, for instance, who started looking at homes probably 2 years ago in the 650 range in certain near North Seattle neighborhoods. And frankly, they were just so indecisive in their decision making that the market's gotten away from them and they can't purchase.
It's so unfortunate. And again, just the advice is just to get out there and keep going and be realistic with what your expectations are and get into the market. So what about what this means for sellers, Tyler?
Well, I think we touched on it. I think for sellers, it's important for sellers to be reasonable in pricing, because regardless of the state of the market, if you're overpriced, you're overpriced, and you'll end up being the stepchild at the at the dance who's not getting the kind of attention that you deserve. So, working with your listing broker to ensure that you're getting good information is hugely important. So there are several different strategies that a seller can employ. In terms of doing those things that are necessary to secure the highest and best offer. That can be holding off and reviewing offers. It can be encouraging or not encouraging pre-inspections. Sure. There's so many different strategies, and it's also still a microcosmic market. So you may be in Green Lake and enjoying 30 offers, or you could be somewhere in South Seattle and not get any. So it really depends on what your neighborhood is, what your price point is, et cetera.
And we've talked a little bit about sellers, obviously, on the show because of everything that's happening in the real estate market. And, I always tell my listeners that as a seller, even though it's an amazing market, you could have 30 offers, you still need to work with the best of the best. Because do you want to maximize your potential on that dollar amount and the net profit? Absolutely. So, Tyler, in your role as president, Seattle-King County Realtors for 2015, what can you tell my listeners about the availability and affordability of housing in Seattle and the surrounds?
I have to tell you, I'm going to be quite blunt. I think that Seattle is more like San Francisco that we've ever seen before. This is a very different marketplace. Because of this influx in population, we are experiencing the housing shortages that I've talked about. This is creating a struggle for the middle class. Affordable housing is something that is very, very difficult to find. And frankly, if you're somebody earning a middle-class wage, it could be a real struggle finding something within a reasonable commuting distance of your job. So one of the things that I enjoy about my role as president is that I do sometimes get to meet with our city leaders and express our concerns and be face-to-face with some of our councilmen and others and say, this is a big problem for the city. We need to sort this out. And transportation is another huge issue. Yeah,
and I have transportation, Sound Transit in a few times in studio. So, lots of things going on there. So, when you talked about being similar to San Francisco. I mean, usually we could look at San Francisco as a prediction of where our market's going to go, but now being right there. What about, you mentioned a little bit about foreign buyers, Tyler, and there's a lot of them coming into our market for the opportunity. Do you feel it's good for them to be buying in the Seattle market?
Well, it's certainly good for them if they're trying to protect their own investments. It can be tough on those people who live here already. As a complete aside, I can tell you that my family has a flat in London, and I have heard stories of certain upmarket neighborhoods in London being so heavily invested in by foreign investors who never live in their homes that the neighborhoods are quiet. Now, that's not something that I see necessarily happening in Seattle, but Seattle is becoming, in my view, one of those markets that's looking more recession-proof than I've seen certainly in my career here, and starting to look more like a world-class market that investors from around the globe are paying attention to. Yes.
And the frustrating thing with the inventory really is for people that can't get into a home, the first-time home buyers that are renting, I mean, what's going to happen for them, Tyler, if they can't get a property? Look at what the rents are doing. I mean, it's like they're in a position they can't. My stepdaughter has just moved here from Colorado, staying with Dave and I, and it's been quite a while that they've been with us, which is really awesome. But they're out there actually looking at properties all the time, and they've got multiple offers on rents, and they're going before they can get an appointment. And what do you have advice for those people that are in that transitional?
You know what? When I was a young person, I was living in Los Angeles, and I never had a commute that was less than 45 minutes, regardless of where I lived. And that's really just sort of a fact of life living in a major, thriving American city. We are faced with making choices that will compel us to perhaps live further afield than we've been accustomed to. And we're going to become more of a commuting culture, I think, as a result of that, which is unfortunate because one of the things that draws people to Seattle is the great way of life that we have, and it's also accessible. And, one may find oneself living in Fife and commuting to work.
Oh, my. Yeah. Don't tell that to my stepdaughter. So what about if we have somebody listening thinking about becoming a broker? what would you tell them?
I would say that this is an amazing time to get in the business. If you can survive and thrive in this business, then you can survive and thrive in any. I was in the trenches in 2008 when it was so hard because there were too many sellers and not enough buyers. And many of my colleagues just stayed at home and stuck their heads in the sand. It's a similar market. There are too many buyers and not enough sellers.
It's funny how that works.
It's difficult, but if you can build the tools and develop your business in this climate, then you are certainly going to be successful when things ease up. And they will eventually. It's always cyclical.
Exactly. And I don't say that I want to have stress or challenge for the market or for the economy by any means, but it definitely doesn't scare me. And it really is an opportunity to get out there and help people because that's when they need it most. Closing thoughts, Tyler, before we wrap up my time with you.
Closing thoughts, if you're looking at the market today, act, don't delay. Make sure that you're working with a real estate professional who is seasoned, or if they're new, you do your vetting and your interview process to ensure that they know their profession. You need to be set up for success in this marketplace. The other thing that I would offer on the lending side is get full loan approval if that's possible. It's going to make the difference when you're competing with a cash buyer.
Makes total sense. Tyler, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with my listeners. Always a pleasure to see you. And congratulations again on your role at SKCAR. And just excited to see what you're going to do this year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Tina.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, with so many credit repair companies out there and a lack of sites willing to bring you the real story on credit repair, I decided it was important, being the Money Hour, to bring a credit expert in studio, Kyle Schultz, FICO certified credit expert with 360 Credit Consulting, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Debra with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, March 21st show. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in and I'll keep you informed. If you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can call the show line at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com. Discuss any topics that you've heard on the show or any topics that you would like to hear, anything regarding money. That's why it's called the Money Hour. And in studio right now, Kyle Schultz, FICO certified expert with 360 Credit Consulting. With a little work and game plan, you can change your credit score and, more importantly, change your life. Thank you so much, Kyle, for coming back in studio and sharing your information regarding credit repair, and the importance of having good credit.
Well, thank you for having me, Tina.
And it's a little bit about Kyle. Kyle is a FICO certified credit expert that has been helping people restore their financial freedom for years. I said I was going to say a little bit about you, and there it goes. So let's start out. I always like to start the show when I interview, just for new listeners, on explaining what FICO is.
FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. They're a company that started in California, and they're basically the largest company in the country and probably in the world when it comes to assessing credit risk.
Okay. And how long have they been around, Kyle?
They were established in 1956 in San Jose, California. So they've been around for a little while. They know what they're doing.
Exactly. And are there any other companies that calculate credit outside of FICO?
The unfortunate answer to that is yes, and that's what can make the credit
kind of
industry,
confusing.
Yeah, so confusing, and why there's so many myths and legends when it comes to credit.
And tell them how many there are.
So the two big ones, the two biggest boys that you need to worry about are going to be FICO. Obviously, they're by far the largest. Over 100 billion credit scores have been pulled through FICO. So I mean, they're the big kids on the block. But next in line would be Vantage Score. All you listeners that use Credit Karma.
Yep.
They are a Vantage score-based company. So those are the two biggest ones.
Got it. And personal length of credit history, can you talk about that and the importance of that when it comes to your actual FICO score?
Absolutely. So there's one section of credit called length of credit history. It accounts for 15% of your score. It's a pretty big deal, and it affects two different types of people the most, I would say. One would be the younger generation looking to buy their first home. They don't have 20 years worth of credit history, so they're going to be severely lacking in points in that section. And the second type of person would be maybe people who are a little bit older, more well-established, who have had some car loans, mortgages, and credit cards and paid those off and closed those accounts. So specifically in this section, what the algorithms are accounting for is what your oldest account is, what your newest account is, and what the average age of all combined accounts is. So,
and it's an easy thing if you have family member that are willing to help you out in this piece of the pie chart of your FICO score, because getting added as an authorized user is a really great way to have a huge impact on your credit score if you're lacking credit history, correct?
Absolutely. You can definitely use that.
So let's talk about closing accounts, because there's a lot of myths out there, Kyle, and this is one of them. In what should a consumer do if they have open revolving credit card debt that they have no plan to ever use that card?
If you have a credit card from 1976, I don't care if you'll never use that account. I don't care if you're never going to go back to JCPenney's again. Keep that account open.
Yes.
Make the trek there once a year just to keep that account open and active, because if you close that account, then it's going to lower your average age of history, which is going to thus lower your credit score. So all those old accounts, you definitely want to be keeping those open and active.
And that's one of those things that I can't help when they come to me if they've done that, unless they get on as an authorized user. It's one of those things that you can't fix, unlike the ratio or the balance of your credit card. You use your credit card all the time and you've got 100% usage based on what's available to you. Well, if you pay it off every month, you can just pay it off and we can instantly affect your credit score. But in this scenario, you can't go backwards. Once you've closed out that established history account, you've lost it.
Exactly.
So it can be a devastating mistake that people can make. And what about what people should do with those old credit cards that they're not using anymore, which we said it's just basically if they're the older accounts, leave them open. What if they're newer ones?
If they're newer ones, then you just have to let the damage run its course. There's a separate section of credit called new credit. It accounts for 10% of your score. In this section, it's kind of unique because it's the only one that all of us, just for being alive and having a pulse, automatically start out with our full amount of points.
Okay.
What happens is every time we open a new account, they're going to ding you. They want to see how you're going to handle that new debt, that car loan, mortgage, credit card, what have you.
Sure.
And then typically after 90 days of good payment history, you get those points back. So it's inevitable that if you open an account, you're going to take a hit, but you're going to get them back as long as you use that account correctly.
Okay. So if we're talking about Equifax transfusion. Oh, you can tell I'm a little bit under the weather today.
Yep.
I can't even say the name of the credit bureaus. And Experian. They're not all the highest credit score at 850, are they, Kyle?
Yes, they are.
They are, really? I thought there was a different high and low for all of the credit. Is that another myth out there?
Yep, that's another myth.
Wow.
So it goes back to the last time that I was in studio. We talked about the 52 different algorithms that are used to calculate credit. Depending on the industry that you're in, they all have different point values assessed to them. So, for instance, in the mortgage industry, the highest score you can have is an 850. And that's really the most important one that people go off of because the housing market is as important as it is.
Sure.
But say like the online industry with Credit Karma or annualcreditreport.com, the highest score you can have is 1,000.
Got it.
And so that's why you can see such a variance between the two.
Interesting. So to get an 850, what do you need to do?
Well,
I have people come in all the time that have awesome credit, and they're just like, what's the high credit score? What do I need to do to get it? But, there's, and all the rhyme and reason that they put on there, a lot of times it doesn't make sense anyways on why they don't have the perfect credit score. That's a whole nother show. But what do you need to do to get 850?
Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, it is a complete myth and legend. You cannot have an 850 credit score.
What? Are you serious?
It is not possible.
Oh my gosh, that's
not
hilarious.
Improbable, impossible. Theoretically, what it would take in order to have an 850 credit score is you would need one installment loan that's preferably a mortgage that is 99% paid off, but not all the way. So you could have that one last payment, but you can't make that payment.
Okay.
And then you need to have 3 credit cards, all with under a 5% utilization that have been active for 25 years or more. That, in theory, would give you an 850 credit score in cyberspace. But what happens the instant that I pull your credit?
Yeah, then you're because of the Inquirer. That's awesome. I feel so much better because I've had so many people that said, how do I get that perfect score? And I'm like, you know what?
You can't do it.
I don't know. I'm going to give that answer. The
highest I've
hilarious.
ever seen is an 837.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does a credit repair company such as yourself do to help clients? I know, but share it with my listeners.
Of course, you're the mortgage expert. You deal with this all the time.
I can't say TransUnion, but that's all okay. That's all good.
That's all right. So basically, what a good credit repair company does is they focus on the two main avenues when it comes to increasing credit scores. So for you listeners out there, what you really have to keep in mind is that credit is a lot like cholesterol in the fact that there's good credit and bad credit, and you want to raise the good while simultaneously lowering the bad. Most people operate under the delusion that in order to have a good credit score, all you got to do is get rid of the bad, sweep it under the rug, and you're going to have a good score. Well, that's not the case. Only about 35% of your score is based off derogatory credit. So a good credit repair company is going to help you to get rid of those collections, those bankruptcies, those charge-offs, etc.
Yep.
But it's also going to help to teach you and educate you, hold your hand and guide you through those murky waters, to show you the ins and the outs and tips and tricks on how credit is calculated, what accounts you want to open, what accounts you want to close. If you have credit card debt or any other kind of revolving debt, how to redistribute it to where it's the most favorable it can be on the report. Things like that. That's what a good credit repair company will do.
So is everybody a candidate that doesn't have that perfect, let's say you can't get 850, but let's say 830? I mean, is everybody a good candidate for credit repair?
I wouldn't say everybody is. I mean, I think you can correct me on this. What's the highest score in the mortgage industry for interest rates? Isn't it like 720 or 740?
740 is going to get you the best interest rate, yeah.
So anything over 740 is just bragging rights. If you want to get there, I can definitely help you to achieve that.
Which a lot of people like to have the bragging rights.
But as far as people that are really should be considering credit repair are people that are looking to get into a home, maybe save money on their interest rates for car loans, their mortgage, if they've been denied for a job based on credit, or if their car insurance rates are through the roof. Things like that. Pretty much anybody that's underneath that 700 mark could benefit from credit
Got
repair.
it. And there are situations in Rapid Rescore for a mortgage professional that you can do some little quick tips to get those things fixed, not to go through the full process if you're on a timing issue. And the biggest thing that I see that I'm able to do in an internal through a Rapid Rescore is just coaching to pay off those revolving debts when they've gotten over that ratio, which we've talked about many, many times in previous shows. So how long does the process usually take, Kyle, if somebody were to start the credit repair process right now to get completed? Because another thing that consumers don't understand a lot of the times is you actually can't be in a dispute process and be closing on a mortgage. So you've got to really figure out that timing.
So the average turnaround time, like say for my company, is right around 90 to 120 days. That's how long a good credit repair company will take to get a client that's bruised, battered, and broken and send them back to their loan officer bright, shiny, and new. Now, obviously, that's just an average. Some clients it takes 1 month, other clients it takes 6 months. Heck, I've had clients enrolled in my program for over 2 years, and they use me in some kind of a credit monitoring, identity theft kind of a service. It all kind of depends on what the goal of the client is. But if you've been, signed up with a company and they've been bleeding you dry for 12, 18 months, get out. They're not doing anything for you. They're just wasting your time.
Got it. So, Kyle, let's talk about cost. What's it going to cost somebody to get through the process start to finish?
Absolutely. This is one of the biggest stigmas associated with my industry is that there's the fly-by-night companies out there that'll tell you, hey, give me $3,000 and I'll fix your credit. Run.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yep.
The good companies out there charge much more nominal fees. For instance, my company only charges an $89 enrollment fee and then $59 per month with no contracts. If you have somebody out there that's want to charge you $200-$300 up front or $100 a month or something like that, shop around. You can definitely find a much better deal. You also want to look for a company that's FICO accredited and certified, which is really important.
And I think it's really important that you have if you don't have an introduction to a good specialist, you need to talk with the people that you do have a reputation with, whether it's your mortgage consultant or your hearing here on the Money Hour, because it's an arena that you really have to make sure that you're working with a good expert. I want to ask you a question before we wrap things up here, Kyle, on collections and paying off collections. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, more specifically, what do you want to know?
Well, so
it's a big topic.
It is a big topic, but so if somebody has a collection, because you can pay off collections at closing when it comes to mortgages, and depending on how that collection is actually paid off, and this is kind of one of those myths and something that I want coming out of your voice and not mine, but sometimes when those collections are paid off, it's actually going to lower your credit score because we're getting into the history of that count, and it can be devastating for your credit score and for the approval process. Can you explain why that is?
Absolutely. So what a lot of people don't
And how do you make that not happen?
How do you make that not happen to hurt your score? Well, what a lot of people don't keep in mind is that there's the one pie chart that we've talked about before of like what goes into credit, types of credit, payment history, amounts owed, et cetera. But there's a whole separate pie chart that people don't think about, and that's the age of these accounts.
Yes.
And so, things that are, 6 months old are going to be weighted substantially more on your credit score than something that's 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
And so if you have a brand new collection, it's hurting you as much as it possibly can, yeah, go ahead and pay it off. That's the best thing you can do. But if you have this collection from 3, 4, 5 years ago, do not pay it off, especially if you're in the process of getting a mortgage.
Isn't that just, how do you explain that to, I mean, my clients trust in my advice to them, but it sounds weird to even say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The reason for that is because if you've ever looked at a credit report, you've seen how there's that little section called date last active or date last reported.
Yes.
When you pay off an old collection, it refreshes that date last active to the most current month, which then brings it to the full weight it can carry on your credit score.
Yes.
So paying it off, a paid collection or unpaid collection, have zero difference on your score.
So here's what you want to do. If you're getting a mortgage, do not pay off your collections. Consult with a mortgage consultant, and if they don't have a conversation around that, you need to pick up the phone and talk with another mortgage consultant, because I would tell you a majority of the people in the industry don't know this. You want to make sure that those collections are getting paid off at closing, and they can. It can be subject to that stamp of final approval at closing, and they are going to pull another credit report at that time, but it's called a soft pull. They're not pulling a hard pull. It's not going to have any effect to your credit, but what happens if you pay off those collections during the closing process, your credit report is getting updated because you've just paid off those collections, and now you're going to get a new credit score, and you may not be approved for the mortgage anymore. So it is so key in every area regarding financing, credit, how you brand yourself, mortgage, real estate. It's so important to work with experts and know the right advice, because it can be devastating if you make the wrong decision. So all of you, thank you so much for spending time with me in studio today, and more important, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with my listeners. I know that they all appreciate it. And to all of you, this is your host and mortgage expert signing off for the day. I appreciate you as well. I appreciate you listening to the show, and I hope that you find amazing value in the information that's provided. If there's anything that you do want to hear about, please call into the show or send a message through the website and let me know, and I'll definitely bring that in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will be here same time, same place, right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. Have a great weekend.
The preceding program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395, is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit absoluteloans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.